In this video, I'm gonna show you how you can take a very beautiful photos with your kit lens with 18 to 55mm lens. And later on, we're gonna move to the photos that I've taken last week in Stockholm, and I'm gonna share with you what I have done, which configuration I have used on my camera, and what was the exposure, f-stop, and so on. Stay with us. Hey guys, Human is here from Coral Group. I'm so happy to be here, and today we're gonna dive into the photography with your simplest gear ever. And as you might have seen, last week I was in Stockholm. I had a day in Stockholm just taking photos, walking around and trying different spots to take photo. And today we're gonna just go toward those photos. We're gonna just talk about those photos to see what I have done exactly, what configuration I've used. And I'm gonna tell you the story of the light, how I could capture the shadows and so on. Just stay with us. And as you might have seen, last week I was in Stockholm. I had a day in Stockholm for cityscape photography and street photography, and I've taken photos like these ones. And if you haven't watched our video yet, I would just link it somewhere, I don't know, here. Just take a look on them. A couple of days ago on Instagram, I posted a story and asked a question about the main and the crucial element in photography, but only 27 to 30% of the followers could answer properly. I mean, the right answer. Most of them were saying that composition, the camera itself, the lens, they are all true, but they are not the main and the crucial element for the photography. And we're gonna talk about the answer to this question today. And a day after, I asked another question if they know what what does the triangle mean in photography, which consists of the ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. And today we're also gonna talk about the answer too. But we are gonna divide it into three series. 3 episodes. Today we're gonna talk about the first one, the aperture, then we're gonna go to the shutter speed and the ISO, and then we're gonna have the workshop of using all these three the elements and the features in your camera. I will walk you with me to the different scenes we're gonna use and test them today. I mean a day that the day comes. Let's jump to the answers. So first of all, just take a look on these 3 photos and then we're gonna come back. So probably you might have guessed what the main element in photography is. If you haven't yet, so that's the light. You must have the proper light according what exactly you're gonna do, what exactly you're gonna capture. But the light is the main and the crucial things. But it does not mean that you always need a sharp light like at noon when the sun is above you. No, we're not talking about them. That's a good thing for some type of photography, for some type of images. But basically we are playing with the light. We need a low light, we need the sharp light, we need the light with different angles. And mostly for those who are going for the late cityscape photography or the landscape photography, they're waiting for the golden hours around the sunrise and sunset-ish time. Everything is bluish or the orange, red things. So that's the light. Light is the most important thing. Of course, if you have your camera and the gears, everything is ready, the element I'm saying, not the gear or the tool. So the element is the light. All right, after the light, let's now go back to the famous topic of the triangle. Today we're going to talk about the aperture and what the aperture is. Aperture is actually the diaphragm on your lens, or behind the lens, or immediately behind the lens sensor. And that's actually a circle thing with many blades which can be closed and open. And it lets the light, the main element, to go through your lens. And actually it's known by the f-stop on your camera. Actually, we are playing with the f-stop to capture the light, to capture the blurry background or very sharp images. If you're gonna do very, how to say, like you have the foreground and a very long distance background, so we're gonna use with the f-stop quite a lot. And most of the time when I'm doing the street photography and actually the cityscape photography, I use the aperture priority on my camera, which I can have the fully control on my aperture, so that I know what exactly I'm gonna do. Sometimes I need a blurry background, sometimes I just go with f-stop, I don't know, 20, just to close this diaphragm to capture the long exposure, the sharp lights of the cars, like this photo. So basically, the aperture is the gate to your lens, which allows the light go in. And later on, when we talk about the focal length, we're gonna talk about this aperture mode quite a lot and in details. But for today, we're just gonna say what exactly the aperture do. Just to make it clear, you should know that these three elements, like the aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, they all work together. But when we are talking the aperture priority, it means that we are somehow actually say that the ISO and shutter speed to be fixed or changing depending on what exactly you ask for the aperture. It means that, for example, just make it simple, you change the aperture and the camera automatically try to find what the proper shutter speed is and how you can change the ISO. So that's some automatic configuration and automatic setting that will happen on your camera. The nearer your camera is, the better configuration will be. And also they also depend on the light, the ambient light. And in the next episode, we're gonna talk about the shutter speed and aperture together, how they work together. And in the third episode, we're gonna add the ISO. And in each episode, we're gonna I'm gonna take you with me in different in different locations to take some photos, and using the aperture and the shutter speed and ISO for you just to understand what exactly they do in the photography. Stay sharp with me, and if you're gonna practice, you must know the AV and TV mode. But let's stick to the AV, which is the aperture priority mode, and you just put it on the AV, like set your camera on the AV and try to scroll. I don't know what camera you use, but I use the Canon 500D, very old camera, as I said, like the cheap and old camera. But we're gonna practice on them. Try to put and set the camera on your camera on the aperture priority and play with the different actually apertures. And later on, after these 3 episodes, when we're gonna talk about the focal length, then you're gonna understand why exactly the aperture priority is important, why exactly the aperture priority can add a value to your photo, if we can actually sharpen your photo. Sometimes we're going for the landscape photography and we don't need the blurry background. We need everything to be sharp. We need to know the focal length. We need to know the aperture like the f-stop, what f-stop we need to use. We're gonna talk about them. We're gonna use different software and applications on your phone to trigger them. From now on, whenever we are going for some photography, either the cityscape photography or the landscape photography or street photography, we're gonna list out the thing that we really need and we're gonna talk about them, we're gonna practice them. So stay with me and try to do every single things that we are listing. Of course, we're not listed. Whatever we are listing in the future, just try to do every single things. All right, guys, that's for today. And let's stay sharp for the next video. It's gonna be shutter speed. and type down the comment below, in the comment below, just what exactly you do. If you've got any question, just type down in the comment, or just jump in the Instagram and direct me. We're gonna just figure it out. We're gonna help you guys to start your photography either as a hobby or as a career.